James Leroy Bigelow was born to Ralph and Elda Swim Bigelow in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, May 11th, 1942. The sixth of 11 brothers and sisters, he attended United Pentecostal churches since he was born, his parents having received the gift of the Holy Ghost about 10 years prior. As a youngster, he had his share of shenanigans. In one comical vignette, his mother was chasing him around the kitchen table to give him a whooping. She yelled at him, "Get thee behind me, Satan!" He shot back, "Yeah, and boot her along." Often during his teen years, under the pastorate of Reverends Samuel and Sadie Hart, he was under the conviction of the Holy Ghost, but stubbornly refused to yield himself to God. In 1963, he entered the Air Force at the age of 21. He trained for the security services, learning the Russian language, and was stationed at the Karamorsal Air Force Base on the Marmara Sea near Turkey. While there, he intercepted Russian communications. He attended church on a casual basis, making no commitment to live for God. Shortly after he was discharged, the Lord began to deal strongly with him.
In the midst of the pessimism and the gloom and the frustration of this present hour, there's only one hope.
In September of 1968, at 26 years old, while watching a Billy Graham crusade, under the conviction of the Holy Ghost, he knelt and repented and rid his life of his sins. In July 1969, he attended the Wisconsin Family Camp meeting and took a liking to that cutie from Marshfield, Wisconsin, Wanda Messing. They married on September 20th, 1969, and that evening they set out for Portland, Oregon, for Brother Bigelow to attend Concourse Bible College. In Bible College, Brother Bigelow was in charge of leading young men aspiring to the ministry. Their first son, David, was born in 1971, and Brother Bigelow graduated in 1972. Brother and Sister Bigelow pastored their first church in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. They pastored from 1972 to 1976. Their second son, Stephen, was born in 1973, and their first daughter, Sherilyn, was born in 1975. Feeling the call to evangelize, they headed west in April 1976. In North Bend, Oregon, they preached a revival for Brother and Sister Ernest Moyer and helped them remodel the church. Afterwards, Brother Moyer retired and recommended Brother Bigelow to be the new pastor. He was voted in January 1977. Brother Bigelow is a clarion voice of sound doctrine and scholarly teaching. In addition, for a few years, he operated a Christian school, grades K through 12. He held separate classes for saints wishing advanced biblical or ministerial training. He was one to encourage young men and women to follow God's plan for them. At least 5 of the young men in the North Bend Church went on to obtain their ministerial license or to preach as laymen. Throughout his years of ministry to the Oregon District, Brother Bigelow has held positions as Sunday School Secretary-Treasurer, Sectional Secretary-Treasurer, Sectional Presbyter, Oregon District Foreign Missions Director, First State and later National, and Chaplain with the Bay Area Hospital and with the North Bend Police Force. He's been the proud officiating minister at each of his children's weddings and many of his grandbabies' dedications. During his years of ministry, Brother Bigelow has always had a heart for supporting missionaries and evangelists. The church wall had an ever-expanding display of sponsored missionaries, and evangelistic revivals were the norm. Throughout their years of ministry, Brother and Sister Bigelow have been hands in the field, supporters of home missions and struggling churches. For churches without a pastor, Brother Bigelow has moved his family to pastor in the city of Coos Bay, Myrtle Point, Coke Hill, and Prineville. In addition, he and Sister Bigelow started home missionary works in Breedsport and Powers. In 2015, an Oregon District pastor publicly made this comment. I didn't know it then, but he had just walked through a dark tunnel called cancer. Nor did I know the wit and intelligence that this humble gentleman contains. This pastor further wrote that he is a man with the spirit of a pioneer. Pastor and Sister Bigelow have ministered in Oregon since 1976. Now, after retiring from pastoring in 2017, he preaches or teaches on request in their beloved home church in North Bend, Oregon, pastored by Reverend Kevin and Sister Lana Goodwin.